Are you following age-old gardening advice only to be disappointed with the results? It's time to separate fact from fiction. Every gardener, whether seasoned or a beginner, has heard a slew of gardening myths. Some might sound convincing while others seem downright absurd. But how many of these tales hold water? Does talking to plants really help them grow? Today we're rolling up our sleeves to dig deep into these myths. Join us as we bust gardening myths and shed light on what truly works. Myth #1. Talking to plants helps them grow. Let's dig into the science and see if our green friends really listen. A common belief among many green thumbs is that our leafy companions respond positively to the sound of our voice. But science tells us otherwise. While plants do respond to certain frequencies of sound, human voices usually don't fall within this spectrum. So, while whispering sweet nothings to your geraniums might make you feel good, it won't necessarily make them sprout any faster. Moving on to myth #2. More water equals happier plants. This is a particularly dangerous myth, as overwatering is one of the leading causes of plant death. Just like humans, plants can drown, and too much water can lead to root rot, a deadly condition for plants. It's essential to understand that the amount of water needed varies based on the type of plant and its specific needs. Now let's turn our attention to the third myth. Plant food is a must for plant growth. While plant food can certainly enhance growth, it's not a hard and fast requirement. In fact, overuse of plant food can have adverse effects, causing damage to the roots and even killing your plants. Plants primarily need sunlight, water, and healthy soil to grow. Anything more should be used sparingly and with a proper understanding of the plant's requirements. And finally, we arrive at myth #4. Sunlight is always good for plants. While it's true that plants need sunlight for photosynthesis, too much of a good thing can be harmful. Some plants thrive in partial shade, and overexposure to sunlight can cause leaf burn and stunted growth. Therefore, understanding your specific plant's light requirements is key to their health and growth. In conclusion, there's a lot of misinformation floating around in the gardening world, some of which can do more harm than good to your precious plants. As we can see, not everything we've heard about gardening holds water. Always be sure to do your research and understand the specific needs of your plants. A little knowledge can go a long way in helping your garden thrive. Now let's plant the seeds of truth and discover what genuinely nurtures our gardens. We've all heard the age-old adages about gardening, passed down from generation to generation. But not all of them hold water, so to speak. It's high time we separate the wheat from the chaff and unveil the practices that truly work, backed by evidence and scientific research. First up, let's tackle the myth about watering plants. You might have heard that watering your plants during the day can burn their leaves. But guess what? This is a complete myth. In reality, water droplets on a plant's leaves can't act as a magnifying glass to focus sunlight and cause burns. So, feel free to water your garden whenever it's most convenient for you. Next, we have the belief that more fertilizer means more growth. It's easy to think that the more food we give our plants, the better they'll grow. But in the world of plants, too much of a good thing can be detrimental. Over-fertilizing can lead to a buildup of salts that can damage roots and impede plant growth. Remember, it's all about balance. Then there's the myth that all bugs are bad. It's true, pests can wreak havoc in your garden, but not all insects are harmful. In fact, many are beneficial, acting as natural pest controllers. Ladybugs, spiders, and bees are prime examples. So, before you reach for that insecticide, make sure you're not harming your garden's little helpers. And finally, let's debunk the myth that plants only need sunlight and water to thrive. While these are fundamental, plants also need nutrients from the soil to grow healthy and strong. So don't neglect soil health. Regularly enrich it with organic matter like compost to ensure your plants get their essential nutrients. Unveiling the truth about gardening practices can be a game changer. It's about understanding the needs of your plants and providing them with the right care and environment. With the right knowledge and practices, we can turn our gardens into thriving green havens. Meet Jane, who believed watering her plants in the midday sun was beneficial. Discover what changed when she embraced the truth. Jane, a seasoned gardener from Oregon, was once a firm believer in watering her plants under the midday sun. She thought it was the best way to ensure her plants received ample water and sunlight. However, Jane noticed that her plants weren't thriving as she'd hoped. Instead, they appeared wilted and stressed, a stark contrast to the lush, vibrant garden she envisaged. Jane decided to challenge this age-old gardening advice. She conducted her own experiment, shifting her watering schedule to early morning and late afternoon. The result? A noticeable improvement in the health and vitality of her plants. Her roses bloomed larger, her vegetable garden flourished, and her ferns unfurled new bright green fronds. Next, let's journey to New York, where urban gardener Ben debunked the myth of more fertilizer equals better growth. Ben's compact rooftop garden was struggling despite his generous use of fertilizer. In search of a solution, he reached out to a local horticulture expert. To his surprise, he found out that excessive fertilizer can actually harm plants, causing root burn and hindering nutrient absorption. Ben decided to dial back on the fertilizers and focus more on the quality of his soil. He started composting and incorporated organic matter into his garden. The transformation was remarkable. His plants thrived, producing an abundance of blooms and fresh produce, proving that sometimes less is indeed more. Finally, we head over to sunny California, where home gardener Lisa busted the myth that plants always need full sun. Lisa's shade-loving hostas were wilting in the harsh sunlight, so she decided to relocate them to a shaded part of her garden. The hostas quickly recovered, growing lush and verdant under their new canopy. These real-life case studies show how debunking gardening myths can lead to healthier, more vibrant gardens. It's not about following traditional advice blindly, but about understanding what truly works for your unique garden. Just like Jane, Ben, and Lisa, we can all learn from our mistakes and grow better gardens. Tip number 1. Test your soil before planting. Here's how a simple test can save your garden. You see, not all plants thrive in the same soil conditions. Some prefer acidic soil, others alkaline. An easy-to-use soil testing kit can tell you exactly what you're dealing with, helping you choose plants that will love their new home and flourish. Moving on to tip number 2. Water deeply, but not too often. Contrary to the belief that a little sprinkle every day will do, most plants prefer a good soak less frequently. This encourages roots to grow deeper into the soil, making them more resilient and better at accessing nutrients. Tip number 3. Don't be too quick to tidy up. Dead leaves and plant debris can actually provide valuable shelter and food for beneficial insects and other wildlife. Plus, they'll break down over time, improving your soil's structure and fertility. So, leave a little mess. Nature will thank you. Tip number 4. Rotate your crops. This is a technique borrowed from farmers, but it's equally beneficial in home gardens. Different plants draw different nutrients from the soil, and some even help deter pests that would otherwise plague the next crop. So, shake things up a little each season. Lastly, tip number 5. Embrace the bugs. Not all insects are harmful to your garden. In fact, many are critical allies, pollinating your plants, breaking down organic matter, and even controlling pests. So, before reaching for the bug spray, take a moment to learn who's who in your garden. These may seem like simple tips, but they're grounded in science and proven by countless gardeners around the world. By understanding and working with nature, rather than against it, we can cultivate healthier, more resilient gardens. So, don't be bound by old wives' tales and half-truths. Question, explore, and learn. With these tips and tricks, we can bust myths and grow our gardens with confidence. Embrace curiosity and challenge myths, and watch your garden flourish like never before. Today we've journeyed through the tangled vines of gardening myths, debunking misconceptions and planting seeds of truth. We've seen that the secret to a thriving garden isn't found in age-old tales but in evidence-based practices and continuous learning. We unearthed the importance of questioning what we think we know about gardening. We discovered that by challenging myths and embracing the truth, we give our gardens the best chance to bloom. The vibrant colors and lush greenery of a thriving garden are the fruits of a curious mind and an informed approach. As we close this chapter, let's carry forward this spirit of inquiry and exploration. Let's continue to question, to learn, and to grow both in our gardens and in our lives. After all, isn't that what gardening is all about? Remember, a curious gardener is a successful gardener. Let's quickly recap what we've learned today. We've debunked some enduring gardening myths and uncovered the truth behind effective garden care. Remember, talking to your plants won't make them grow faster, but a regular watering schedule and proper sunlight certainly will. We've also taken a leaf from Jane's book, who found that watering her plants in the midday sun was more harmful than helpful. It's these little changes that can make a world of difference in your garden's vitality. We've shared some practical tips and tricks too. Testing your soil before planting, for instance, can save you a lot of time and heartache down the line. It's all about embracing curiosity and challenging long-held beliefs. Because when we do, our gardens will flourish like never before. Don't forget to subscribe for more myth-busting, truth-unveiling content. Share your own gardening myths or successes in the comments. Keep growing, keep questioning, and join us next time for more gardening insights.